Hello everybody, this is Graeme, and today I'm going to be looking at a game called Botany. Now in this game, each player takes on the role of a Victorian adventurer. You're going to be going out to the world to collect specimens from different countries to bring them back to your estate, and of course try and win the Queen's Prize in Botany. Now first off, I love this theme. I'm also in love with the production of this game. It's just top notch. There's all these little things in this game that just kind of lead to the theme. For an example, there is a nice map of London, Victorian London, inside the box of the lid. But how does the gameplay work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to be moving your pawn around the board, which is kind of a map of the world, to try and get to certain countries where you'll be able to play specimen cards from your hand that match the country you're in. And when your flower cases are full, you have to return to your estate and drop them off to earn money and hopefully some reputation. Now, each turn that you're going to be drawing event cards and earning money back at your estate, and that's how you're kind of going to be going throughout the game. It's nice and straightforward rule set with a gorgeous looking game. I had high hopes for this one. So, will it be like the rose in your garden? Or is it more like full of thorns? Let's get it to the table, see how it's played, and we'll come back for my final thoughts on Botany. So here's Botany set up for 2 players. The expedition cards are shuffled and 3 are drawn face up. Event cards and specimen cards are shuffled and placed down in their spots on the board. Randomly draw 3 bonus cards and place them face up beside the board, and return the rest of the bonus cards to the box. Place the other cards to one side along with the extra coins. Each player takes an estate board, 1 Wardian case, 1 botanical press, 10 coins, a randomly drawn character card, and 2 random expedition cards off the top of the deck. Each player is then dealt 4 specimen cards to start. All players will place their pawn on the estate space. Let's have a quick look at these cards. The expedition cards come in 3 types: items, crew, and pets. Each one will have a cost to purchase it during your turn, and it will have an ability printed on it. Your character card will have event bonuses, which we'll talk about in a bit, and special actions listed on the bottom. The specimen cards will have points for getting the flower back to your estate, and the country where you have to go to find the specimen. Now the goal of the game is to collect the most victory points by collecting specimens and return them to your estate to score those points, building garden features, and fulfilling the game end bonuses. The game will end when one player has reached 12 on the reputation track, or when the specimen deck runs out. So on your turn, you're going to be doing the following. The first thing you do is pay a coin from your expedition funds. Expedition funds are always kept off of your estate board. Any money on the estate board cannot be touched while you're on an expedition. That is, if your pawn is outside of the estate circle. If you cannot pay a coin during your expedition, then you have to start moving backwards towards the estate at the standard 3 spaces per turn. Each turn that you cannot pay a coin, you must discard either an expedition card or a specimen card from your Wardian case or your botanical press. If you can't discard a card, then you must pay 2 coins from your estate board, and if you have no money on your estate board, then you lose 1 reputation per turn until you return to your estate. After you've paid this coin, you will optionally draw an event card. If you're not planning on collecting any specimens this turn, you do not need to draw an event card on your turn. But if you do not draw one now, you'll have to draw one as soon as you acquire a specimen during this round. So let's just say you draw it now so we can have a quick look at the event cards. Each event card will be just for the active player or will apply to all players. When it is a personal card, there will usually be a challenge roll. It will tell you what you're rolling for, and any character abilities or item abilities that modify the event type can be triggered now to increase your chances of success. For example, this event card here has this type, and my character gives me +1 to those rolls. Then, based on my modified results, I will resolve the event. Next we go on to the move and acquire specimen step of your turn. You can move up to 3 spaces. Each space will either be on a land or sea, and for each step you take, you can play the matching specimen card for your current space. Some specimen cards will give you an ability or hindrance when played. Play a specimen card, you have to be in the spot where it says the specimen has to be collected, either on the sea or in a specific country. When you acquire a specimen, it can either be placed in your Wardian case, which can only hold up to 3 live specimens, or place it in your botanical press. If you place it in your botanical press, it is turned face down and the specimen on the other side no longer matters. The card is now worth 1 point at the end of the game. If your Wardian case is full, you can move a specimen from your Wardian case to your botanical press to make room for the new specimen. And if you did not draw an event earlier on your turn, and you have acquired a specimen, you must draw and resolve an event now. Once you have finished moving, you draw back up to your hand size limit, which is usually 4. Then you gain estate income depending on your position on the reputation track and place that many coins on your estate board. This money cannot be touched until you return to your estate. You can then buy an expedition card using your remaining expedition funds, pay the cost on the lower right, or you can just spend 2 coins to draw the face down card. You can buy a maximum of 1 card per turn. If, during the movement phase, you enter the estate circle with your movement ends and you can proceed to the estate steps. First, you can move any live specimens from your warding case to the live specimen on your estate board. For each live specimen you move over, you gain a coin. For every 3 specimen cards you move over in 1 turn, you get a reputation. You can then move as many pressed specimens over to the pressed specimen section of your estate board, but you do not gain any coins or reputation for this. If you have any live specimen cards that are poisonous in your warding case, instead of placing them in your own estate, you can sabotage opponents by paying a coin for each poisonous plant, and you give it to them and they have to place it on their estate board. They cannot refuse this and has to go to their live specimen section of their estate board. While at your estate, you can also transfer all of your estate income to your expedition fund. You can discard as many cards as you want from your hand and draw back up to your hand limit at the estate. You can only do this once, and before you do it again, you have to leave the estate, acquire at least 1 specimen, and return to the estate. You can also discard a face-up expedition card and replace it with one from the deck. And finally, you can purchase 1 garden feature while at your estate by paying the cost in the bottom right. You can only purchase 1 of these per visit to your estate and must acquire a specimen before purchasing an additional garden feature. There are requirements for 2 of these features listed on the card itself, and the 3rd garden feature allows you to convert poisonous plants into positive points in your estate. While at the estate, you can do all or some of these actions and in any order. The game ends when one person has reached 12 on their reputation track, or when the specimen deck runs out and there are no cards in the specimen discard pile to shuffle back in. After the player who triggered the end of the game finishes their turn, all other players get 1 last turn. You then decide who fulfilled the bonus cards, and if multiple players tie for the bonus, then all players get those points. Add the total from your live specimens from your estate board, plus 1 point for each pressed specimen on your estate board. Then, the player with the most points is the winner. And that's how you play. Let's get back to see what I thought about Botany. On to theme and components. I really enjoyed the theme in this one. The idea of having a list of plants, which are the cards in your hand, and traveling the world to bring them back and show them off at your estate is just charming. The item cards are reasonably thematic, and I enjoy the little touches on the event cards as well. The Latin names, again, on the specimen cards down here, just add a little bit to that Victorian botanical pioneers feel. All in all, I thoroughly enjoyed the theme for this one. And for the components, everything in this box is top-notch, including the box itself. Every piece of the game is well done. I had mentioned the inside of the box in the opening, and that carries through to the back of the game board is full of this gorgeous art as well. The card are gorgeous. I just can't say enough about how this game looks. Again, everything is top-notch. The only slight negative I would have is maybe the game is a bit too big. It is quite the table hog. Again, not a major thing, but it's still kind of easily being reduced in size from the main board to, even the specimen cards could have been smaller, but still retained its charm that it has. But like I said, that's not a major thing. So we're off to a great start. An interesting theme and fantastic components. But unfortunately, that does not carry over to the gameplay. This game ended up being really a huge disappointment for me. I so wanted to like this game just from the look and the presentation of this. Now, there are several problems I had with the game. So first off is kind of the randomness of the game. From the specimen cards you get into your hand to these event cards. And honestly, these event cards, you should never start your turn with drawing one of these things. You should always wait until after you've picked up your first specimen, because there's almost always a bad outcome on these, again, if you fail a roll. And the good side is hardly not going to help you at the beginning of your turn. And some of the negatives on these cards are just quite punishing for how light the game is. For example, here's one. Move only 1 space on your next turn. Or, lose a reputation. Give a coin to another player. Your turn ends, collect estate income. Now imagine if you drew that on your first action and then you had nothing else to do. Now these negatives are a 50-50 chance. A roll of 1 to 3, you get something negative. Now hopefully you have some random skill or item that allows you to alter the outcome. But really, the possibility of 50% of your time having something bad happen to you just seems to be a little too punishing. I also found that the specimen draw is too random. Why not have a Ticket to Ride style mechanism where you can either draw the top card off the deck or from a 3-card face-up? Often you're left with cards in your hand that are in the 4 corners of the map, and you have very little opportunity to get any synergy between your cards. You can go back and refresh your hand at the estate, and I like that you can do that at the estate. You can discard as many cards from your hand and draw back up to your maximum. But you can't do it again until you've left, collected one specimen, and gone back to the estate. So hopefully you've got something that's close that you can get back and try and get some synergies. Because if I'm going to Australia, I want to collect all the plants from Australia, not just one. There is some take that in the game. Most of it kind of driven by these random event cards. I was actually not bothered by it, basically because it's just sheer randomness. It's like, oh, I have to take a card of yours just because the event card says. The poison cards, I actually didn't mind either, because there's actually a way that you can turn them into positive points by having that garden feature. But really my biggest problem I had with this game is the sheer repetitiveness of the simple gameplay combined with the overly long playtime and downtime in between my turns. Most of the games I've played, and I played this at 2, 3, and 4, have been around 1.5 hours. And some of that time is just you turning back to go to your state before your money runs out, or trying to move and get someplace where you can just pick up one specimen. When you combine that with the random dice rolls, it just felt very tedious to play this game. I think maybe to fix it, moving the end game trigger sooner, making it not maybe 12, maybe 10 reputation points, making it easier to get around the map, and maybe having some more choices for the specimen cards in my hand might have made a difference. But as it stands in the box, it's honestly just not a game that I enjoyed. I can see some people enjoying this because it is so light, but I still want light games to be engaging. So would I recommend this one? I think you can probably tell from my comments, I would not. I did love the theme and the components. A lot and time and care went into the production of the game components in the game itself, and it definitely shows. It is just a gorgeous game. I also like the variable endgame scoring and the garden features, but I do feel there could have been more options here to change up those features from game to game so you weren't always going to be collecting the same things. I did like the idea of the game. I still think there is something in here that if it was refined and developed more, it would be something that I found truly enjoyable. But for me, there's just too many negatives with the game. From the long playtime, to the downtime in between turns, to the repetitive nature of what you're doing. And what you're doing over and over again are just some simple steps, and you're doing them again and again and again. The randomness and punishingness of the event cards and the dice rolls was just too punishing for this game. Hopefully you have some random item to help you with on those rolls, but hopefully you just never know. So overall, I'm going to give this game a 5.5 out of 10, and that includes a little bump for the production because the production is so nice. This is a game that just fell too flat for me. It's just not engaging enough for the game length. The look of the game drew me in, but I soon realized there just wasn't enough behind the beautiful curtain. But that's it for now. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us for that video. If you haven't yet, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hey, make sure you check out what's happening where I'll cover an app on an iOS or a Switch device, and you can check it out along with me. Thanks very much. You've been watching The Dice Tower.